G'day guys. Okay, so this is going to be a tutorial on the complete cold and dark start tutorial for the first flight of the day and basic setup of the aircraft, and then working on the FMC, which will be another video altogether. So basically this is just going to be from start to finish of the aircraft, and then the FMC is going to be a separate video. So today we're just going to be doing a cold and dark start. So we're sitting here in lovely YBBN Brisbane International at gate 16. If you have a look, there it is, gate 16, there it is. So lovely YBBN, gate 16, and we have ground power that they have provided us. It is actually like 4:30 AM that I am recording this, so it's not daytime. I just changed it day so you can see what I am doing. Alright, so first we do our first flight checks. So obviously the external walk around. I'm going to mute that for a sec because it is quite loud outside. So we do our external checks, starting obviously with the front of the aircraft. Okay, so we obviously come out of the stairs there, and we check the pitot tubes and all that sort of stuff, and then go around the aircraft and checking the two boxes here that have all the equipment in it, and the some circuit breakers that aren't in the aircraft, and then check the other pitot tubes and aerials and stuff there, checking the landing gear, and then walking out to the tip and checking to make sure that there's no abrasions, dints or scrapes, and lights and that sort of stuff coming back. Obviously spinning the propeller as well. Then we come back, check the landing gear on the other side, and then we check the other closer rear, all the antennas and stuff. These are actually antennas, they're not fins or anything, so be mindful. Making sure that the door on this side is locked. It may be open for stuff like that. Checking the back of the aircraft and the empennage, the tailplane, and checking them to see if there's anything leaking in the APU there. Then coming back around and walking around, because this door would be open for cargoing, making sure that the ladies here are all good, and checking the sides antennas and that little antenna down there. Checking the aircraft visual overall, and then the back of the landing gear and up into the hold for the landing gear, checking the wings and the lights at the end, and coming back and checking the front of the landing gear and back inside again, just do another check, spinning the propellers, having a look at any abrasions, dints or scrapes again, and then on this side of the aircraft checking for the antenna damage and blah blah blah. Okay, so that is the internal walk around, and that is done by the first officer, the right hand seat dude. Alright, it is, that graphics is so annoying sometimes, but it doesn't do it all the time. Okay, so the next thing we have to do is turn all batteries on. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Turn this on so you can actually hear something now. The next you have to do are the DC gens, so 1 and 2. And then you'll need to use external power if required. Now if you don't have an external power source, you start the APU. I'm going to be quiet for a second, it's just doing its test.
Bank angle.
Alright, so the aircraft is completely set up, so that's just a test that it does when you start up. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is check the cockpit lights. If you need any lights, there's cockpit lights all there, and you have the storm dome light there. Now we're not at night time, so we just use this particular one here. You can, however, use that if wished upon. Then we check all the screens, make sure they're all on, which we just did before. And APU if you wish to use that. Okay? To start the APU is power on, wait for the lights to flick, start, and then you'll have a generator warn button come up in a minute. Alright guys, I just needed to get a charger for my tablet. Alright, so the warn button's on, generator on. Okay, now it's not going to change anything until you turn the power off. So now we are on power. Now the generator can stay connected, but it's not putting any power into the aircraft. Now we wait a minute before we do the bleed air, just so the aircraft has time to warm up all its systems and stuff. That was my fan. It's alright, whatever's. Okay, now we got to make sure the documentation and all that's on board. Now that is not simulated in the aircraft, however, you would have your own documentation for this aircraft to do FMCs and all that sort of stuff. We got to check the green on the masks. Okay, so there'll be another one here. There it is. Turn these annoying noises off. Then we're going to check the gear pins, obviously the walk around. The first officer put the gear pins away, and the smoke and all that sort of stuff is all sorted. Okay, torches are behind my seat. Just around here. Okay. This is really annoying noises, as you can hear. After that, you have the crash axe and the fire extinguisher, which you've just seen, fire gloves and goggles. They'll be all in there, and a few other bits behind the seat. Just going to turn this on for a second and shut that up. Thank you. Alright, so that's now shut up, okay? Don't take notice of that as part of it. Okay, now we're going to check the circuit breakers. So the circuit breakers on that side and the circuit breakers on that side. Now in the Pilot Edition, they're not going to be any problems there. In the Pro Edition, there could be. There's also circuit breakers in the front of the aircraft. However, they aren't simulated, I believe, in this. So don't worry about it. That is so annoying. That's alright, it'll go away. Then we got oxygen level limits, which will be over here for the first officer to check, making sure that the oxygen level is all good. And now we go on to the before start checklist, before first flight of the day checklist. Okay, so it's basically going over the same sort of things again. So batteries are all on, main bus is on, generators are on, external power required, we're on APU, de-ice boot selectors are off, the prop test is off, the anti-ice doors are open. You turn them on, they should go open when the aircraft is on. There you go. Then you have the reference switch is in the off position or normal, tested and off. The boot air switch is in norm position. The static switches, standby 1 and 2, are all off position. The windshield heat is in off, and the wipers are in off. We have the pilot side window heat off. External lights are off over there. Press computer indicators checked, so that's over here. Somewhere around here. They're there somewhere. But it's not simulated either, so don't worry about it. Fdr test. That is... That's not one of those. Flight director. That's these ones up here. Fdr, my bad. So you just check these, done, and you check that. Okay. Now we got to do these tests up here. Okay. So that's the fire duct left and right, and the test 1 and 2 for the baggage, and they also do the APU as well. Okay, that is before normally you do the APU. However, you will be on ground power at this point in time. But yeah, so if you do that when the APU is on, the APU will switch off. Okay, that's not a biggie. You can just switch it back on and off you go. just pull that out and wait until it starts up again. Okay, the next one is the panel lights, tested and requested if need be. Okay, and storm lights if required. There's no storm outside, don't really need it. APU bleed now is on. Ignitions to normal. The start center selector is on the middle, and starter is out and no lights. Cabin altitude set. Now this is all automatic, but you can have manual by using there and all that, so that's on there. I leave it on automatic. The pressurization mode select to auto, so that's on auto. Also, you can change your landing altitude. I normally set the landing altitude to the altitude of the airport that I am taking off from, just in case I need to do a landing. Forward outflow valve closed. Now that just means 0%. The external lights is required. Now we're about to start the aircraft, so we turn on the navigation, which is that one. And that is the wing, that is the anti-collision light and strobes, and that is also the logo of the aircraft. Emergency lights test and armed, on for the arm, test, and back to arm. And no smoking signs are on, done. Okay, so that is one of the checks. Now we go ahead and do the other seatbelts, so the continuation. Okay, seatbelt signs are now on. The dim and bright switch, so it's up to you if you want either or either. Caution and warning lights tested. So you lock in there, have a look around, clickety click, make sure the lights are on, and then turn off these warnings. These warnings should come straight back on while the test is on. Done. Click the warnings off. Okay. Temperature controls check at 12 o'clock. Now that's all over there for the first officer. And then the bleed air has to be on minimum and off. Okay. You want to check to make sure that this is over here. Okay, cabin deduct, cabin, and all that sort of stuff. So that's just telling you the different gauges of what's going on in the cabin. Okay. And you also want the fan on as well. So that's this AC fan here. It'll come up in a minute. You want that on. Okay. The AC REC fan. That is on at all times at all flights. AC generators on 1 and 2. That can stay off because they don't use external power. Now we want to do the before first flight of the day checks continued again. So this is the glare shields and below checks. So we want to make sure that the flight taxi switch is on taxi. The cap FOND terrain GP test here.
Light slow. Pull up. Terrain. Pull up.
A little bit misty outside. There you go. So this aircraft does simulate mist on your windshield, so yeah. Okay, so that's that. The gear warning horn, which is over here. Okay. You want that? That annoying noise. And you also want to check your anti-skid. So click on and click on. Okay, cool. Auto feather pressed and test. So you just press this, make sure that it comes on, and turn it off. Okay. And then you want standby controls on comm. So now you want to turn on your comms, on and on. There is a few functions for these. You can have on and have them separate. You can have them on both. So whatever you do on this one happens on that one. You can have them on FMC, and you can tune it with the FMC up the top there. I leave them on FMC because I use the FMC. And you want the comms on standby after completed tests. So you go and you do your tests and all that sort of stuff. So I don't think the tests are simulated. If they are, please put it in the comments because I haven't been able to find them as of yet. There is squelches and stuff that you can use. I do know that there's a test for the TACAN. This is up there. If you wanted to, you can test that now. Save you testing it later. Cockpit voice recorder test again.
Gas system test okay.
Okay. The trims, rudder and elevator are all in their free range and neutral, so you want to make sure that that is all set. You want to find that the power levers aren't fully forward, so they want to be at the dis. And you want the condition levers full off, which are these ones here. Condition levers are the same as propeller thrust, so you want to know what they are. They're a bit different to what an actual aircraft is. That is also the mixture of the aircraft, so in this particular one. So we just did the H.O.T.A.S test and the avionics test, so that's all done. Okay, so that's the first flight of the day. Now we get into the before start checklist, or the flight safety checklist. So flight safety is the documentation, so you will have that already done. The batteries we do again. Make sure that the batteries are all on. Make sure the main bus tie and the DC generators are on. And then we want to make sure that the battery temps are okay by having a look over here. All good? Awesome. Safety and all that, all the safety stuff is behind our seats and stowed away. Landing gear lights, 3 with 3 doors open. And engine intake doors are green. Now we can turn them off, now that they're all warmed up. Circuit breakers are in, we know that, so we're doing another check on the circuit breakers after we've done all those tests. Something might have popped out. Alt gear door inhabitor switch. Okay, that's all that thing there. Okay, so you want to close all that. The fire test and motion test, you can do that again. We've already done it. Bleed airs 1 and 2 are off and minimum, and the rock fan is on. RECIRC. I'll call it the rock fan. That's just me. Pressurization is checked again. It's there. It's all good. 0 and on 0. And the drift is on 0 too. Okay. The AC packs are checked, 1 and 2. And we have our AC controls on. And then we have emergency lights confirmed. The transfer control is on the center position. Parking brake is set and checked. And the nose wheel steering over here is off. The FMC now, which we will skip for this tutorial, but now this is where you put the FMC in. Okay, so you turn on and on. Okay, and then they'll go through its checks and start. So the FMC will be in another tutorial linked in with the tutorial in the playlist, so you can have a look at that at a later date. Okay, so now I do the takeoff and departure brief, so you will talk to your co-pilot if you are using the in-flight, the shared cockpit thing, if you're in Pro or whatever. So you'd be talking to your co-pilot or whoever's flying with you. Okay. Okay, so before start checklist, which is normally the FO, but for yourself it'll be you. Neutral, neutral, and set. So the 3 set trims, set 3 times. Okay, so that's done. Doors are all closed. Now to find out if the doors are closed, you can either use that screen over there, or we can change our own to systems and check over here. So they're both on electrical. What we can do is just go door, and there you go. Now while he's on door, I can change this back and I have electrical there. Or you can go nav, have a look at this middle panel and hold the button down and boom, doors, and then it'll disappear. Okay, electrical systems really quickly, just at a glance, and engine and fuel. If you want to check all of them at once, blah blah blah. Fine. So that's that. Doors are all out. Passenger signs we know are on. Cabin report is received by the cabin crew. Flight deck door is locked, and we can go ahead and go red. Sorry about that. About to sneeze. So yeah, we go to the anti-collision light will be on the red position. Now the anti-collision light on the red is above the aircraft. So we go outside and have a look. It's above, and if we go to the strobes, it'll be down below and at the back. Now that is for when we go out and fly. Now we check to make sure the main bus volts are on 26. So as you can see, they were. Let me open it up again. Electrical systems, as you can see, 26 there. Okay, awesome. Doesn't stay there for long. Okay, so this is not on the checklist, but this is very self-explanatory on how to start this aircraft. Okay, so we watch the engines here. Okay, now I'm not going to worry about pushing back. I'm just going to start it right here. APU bleed off. All right, starter 2 and start up. Okay, now the aircraft goes completely quiet as a start. Waits till we get a little bit of movement around 10. We go condition lever up. And around about 20, it goes up. That's not going to stay up because of my control settings, so I'm going to put both of them up now. Normally you'd have one up at a time. Once that's started to get its pressure, so PSI should be around 65 or 66. So you want to make sure that you watch this number here. If it stays below 60 in the yellow, you're going to have some problems. If it's on the red, you're going to have even more problems. You want to make sure everything goes into the green. This obviously won't. This, and this, and all these will make sure that they're in green. That won't go green until we get to the rest of the aircraft start. Okay. Now the aircraft is ready to go for the next engine. We go that and start. Aircraft goes quiet once again. As you can see, it is cranking up at 10. Flick the condition lever up. Like I said, mine is on automatic due to my setup on my controls, so I just have to leave it there. Watching the PSI again come up. Once it gets into the 65 to 66 mark, which it will be, that's where the aircraft will be in its stable position. Once it hits 300, it should start cutting out all these other controls. Okay, so we got the select button. That should disappear shortly. Done. Okay, the aircraft is now on. So we can go ahead and disconnect the APU. So the generator first, then the power button. Then we go to main bus tie, turn that off. And then we check the electronic panel again. So open that up and check. So make sure that we've got positives, not negatives. Done. Okay. And then we go condition levers max and listen to the lovely engine. Once that's done, we go. That shouldn't have been on. Auto feather straight on. Pumps 1, pumps 2, and hydraulic 1 and 2 on. Watching the hydraulics here. Okay. So making sure that that all works there. Then we go flaps 1, 2. Now you normally take off on flaps 10, 5, or 15. I always take off flaps 10, so I can get a little bit of less speed. Otherwise, flaps 5 and you'll have to get a bit more speed. Okay, so that's on there, and then the rudder tracked again. Make sure that the rudder and aileron are in their neutral position, ready to go, and then nose wheel steering on there. Then you want to check after a minute, bleeds 1 and 2, bleeds on min, make sure that's on minimum. You want to check, and the de-ice is on. You can do this one or two ways. You can wait until you get out to the roadway, or you can turn them on like that now. Always turn that on before you leave here though. So I just turn these 3 on so I remember. So turn that on so it warms up, so by the time you get out there you can just go norm and have those on so you don't forget them. If you want, I turn them on before I leave. Otherwise turn them on when you leave the runway. They have to be on whether it's hot or cold, raining or shining. After that, then we do the H.O.T.A.S. Click and hold. It's on Alt, click, EXP, click above, and turn off. Okay, so that is it. That is the startup for this aircraft. Basic, well, not really basic, but that is it. From full, cold and dark, all the way to the start. Yeah, so making sure that the only thing that should be on the aircraft is the good old parking brake. Alright, making sure that the brake is on, because as soon as these engines start, it is actually in reverse. So you might start reversing, so brake has to be on. Okay, this aircraft does reverse under its own power, which is pretty cool. Alright, so yeah, that is the start-up procedure for this aircraft. Very, very easy. Alright guys, thank you very, very much, and I'll see you later.